got my glasses on so I can read the screen.
Yeah, unfortunately it's 720p. So I've started recording now.
Okay.
So yeah, and unfortunately it's 720p, so it doesn't come through as well as I'm playing it.
But if you're using your phone, I think you can zoom in with your fingers
to a small degree. I can, just a small degree.
Yeah.
Just a pinch.
Okay, why is it grabbing? Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? No. Okay. It's still showing. Did I share the right screen?
It says Follow the Money University, Dawah, number 3.
2. Yeah, no, but it's put. Okay, I had the wrong screen shared. All right. Okay, guys. So last week and prior, we spoke about, and I went into maybe too much detail, so I'll cut back on that because this is winding down now. We're about to finish, but I wanted to show beyond any doubt that the Islamic lobby has an incredible amount of money. It has an incredible amount of influence. It has enormous political influence. It has enormous financial influence. It is actively working to use its money to change Western politics. Right. It has access at the highest levels of power in Europe and America, and it is incredibly powerful. It spends hundreds of times more money than Israel could ever hope to raise. Right. The only benefit that Israel has is that it has the support of the common people because they like Israelis. They like the Jewish state because of social and religious ties. People don't like Islam, but Islam spends a small fortune. And the money is not spent just on political lobbying. The bulk of the money, the vast bulk, 95+%, 99% of their money is spent on the US and European education system. Okay, spent on the education system. I'm going to try and zoom in here to make this more legible for everyone. Okay, so hopefully you can read these better. I'll have to zoom in a bit more. So I'll do my best so you can. Okay, it's a bit more legible now, so it's a bit larger. I'm just going to bring this in here to fit more on the screen. I'm going to make this smaller. So now I'm going to start with this. This is the foreign gift and contracts report. I couldn't get the very latest one. There was a problem with the main website. This one is about 6 months old, but then again, the data is generally about 6 months old. Okay, so it's always about 6 months to a year behind anyway. So you're not going to get the very latest data. Now notice this spreadsheet has thousands. It's got probably 30 or 40,000 rows. So it's a huge, huge spreadsheet. Okay. Okay, it's got 28,223 rows. Okay, so, and this is a year old. Let's call it 6 months to a year old. Let's just say 1 year. Okay, so we can sort here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the financial row, and I'm just going to click row G. You can download this off a website, Foreign Gift and Contracts Report. Okay, this comes from the US government. When they receive money, or when a university receives money, it needs to report it. Of course, the money has to exceed 250,000 for it to be reported. So a huge amount of money goes unreported. An enormous sum goes unreported. We know it's at least 1.5 billion, but have a look down here in the bottom right corner. You can't see it very clearly, but that number is $16.6 billion. That is $16,600 million. Now, if we look at the dates that we're involved with here, this is from the 1st of January, 2014 to the 30th of June, 2020. So you're looking at a 6-year period, okay? In a 6-year period, US universities have received $16.6 billion in foreign donations. The question you need to ask is, what are they getting for their money? Your thoughts on that, Harry?
It's an incredible amount of money, and I would like to know how much of that money belongs to Muslim nations. Can you sort it out from this?
That's a fair question. So we can go here. So what we can do is we can unselect these. I can just pick a few at random. So let's go. Let's just pick a few from here. And okay, let's look for Saudi Arabia. So let's go to Yemen.
Qatar.
Yeah, let's run down the list here. USA, Uruguay, UAE is a big spender.
Qatar,
Okay.
probably.
We also don't know how much of that money comes through the Bahamas, comes through Trinidad and Tobago, comes through all these weird islands. Okay. Because those islands are putting out incredible amounts. I mean, islands the size of my bathroom are putting out incredible amounts of money. So, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, let's do the obvious candidates. Palestine, okay, let's dump them in here. Oman, Nepal, Namibia, Mozambique, Morocco, let's dump those in Morocco in here. Malaysia, yep, definitely a big player. Uzbekistan is actually one of the big guys as well, so let's drop.
Maybe Indonesia and Egypt.
Uzbekistan doesn't appear. That's very interesting because Uzbekistan spends about as much as Israel does. Okay, so let's go to, okay, that's very, very interesting. Uzbekistan's not on the list here this year. Interesting for that period, because they definitely are on that list. They should be on that list. I put Tunisia in, Scotland, Saudi Arabia, Rwanda, Russia. I know that unfortunately there's not much I can do about the text now.
What about Pakistan and Egypt?
Pakistan, you're right. Egypt. Okay, Egypt. So far, so if I go okay, so far your totals are $4.5 billion. You can see just under $4.5 billion in the last 6 years.
Wow, that's huge money.
Yeah. So those countries are responsible for a quarter of all the university donations. So, and we don't know how much of that money is routed, as I said, through like the Bahamas and other islands, Marshall Islands, which have no people, bunch of sheep, and yet are spending money equivalent to what Saudi spends, because they are fronts for Russia, they're fronts for China, they're fronts for Saudi Arabia and others.
What happens when you add China? Can you do it, please?
So just China, when I add China.
Yeah, to add.
Okay, so let me add China to the mix. And once we add China, the number goes to $5.6 billion.
Wow.
5.6 billion, from 4.4 to 5.6. And this is not necessarily accurate. The FBI has filed a number of fraud cases that I've seen because of unreported funds and illegal funding to academics who are taking this money and then selling secrets to China and other countries for industrial espionage, selling research. So, yeah.
Do you know in which departments, to which departments the money usually goes to?
They are undermining U.S. education. That's from K through 12 and university. So they're sending money to schools to rewrite the textbooks, to rewrite the basic discussion about cultures and religions. So they are either providing or somehow influencing people to teach Islam in a very favorable fashion, to leave out the nasty bits. It's all propaganda. And they are sending money to into political, like those people who study, what do they call it? Political science. They're influencing political science. They're influencing think tanks, and they are influencing. And I know this for a fact because I was studying a course on counterterrorism, and the crap that we were learning was not a joke. They were in full control of the counterterrorism department at the university I was studying at. It was a complete joke. So counterterrorism is definitely undermined.
Does it change the perception of the different organizations who are responsible for the defense of the country?
Of course. I mean, they will strip out words like jihad from the lexicon. They will strip out anything religious. They will blame it on extremism, right? Just as vague extremism. They will not mention jihad. They will not mention anything to do with the Sharia. They will say, look, every religion has its extremists, and they will not allow Islam to be implicated. They will change the narrative completely. It's entirely just propaganda. They've done it to the FBI. They've done it to the CIA. They've rewritten the army manuals. They've rewritten CIA, FBI manuals, law enforcement manuals. And don't forget, they're pumping out people from universities who've got this very, very favorable view of Islam because they've been indoctrinated from K through 12 already. Actually, let me bring this up. So let me find this. Since you've raised that point, let me just get to those notes. Yes. So okay, this would be useful. So I'll just bring this up since here we are. Okay, so I'll run through this briefly then. So I'll try and make this more of a narrative than just to dig into numbers and just bore people with numbers. So for instance, take UCLA, University of California, Berkeley. Taxpayer money for Middle Eastern studies, $600,000. Muslim countries, 18.6 million. Funds from Israel, 507,000. Okay. Now they say, this is the Daily Caller. This is from 2018. Universities took $600 million tied to Muslim nations while blah, blah, blah. Okay. So you can see these numbers are extremely high. There's millions, tens of millions of dollars from these countries. Kazakhstan, Kuwait. Okay. We've seen some of these numbers before, but they are definitely subverting people who are in these universities, and they are definitely radicalizing them. Take this woman, ex-US military. She was radicalized. Monica Alfreda Witt. She's born in El Paso, Texas, and she changed her name to Fatima Zahra. Okay, and of course she then started to sell secrets to the Iranians because she was radicalized in university. She was at University of Maryland, George Washington, and I've mentioned them last week. These guys have received a lot in funding. So they are recruiting. You can see George Washington, taxpayer money, $258K. Funding from Muslim nations, $101 million. Okay, so now the Daily Caller. So I'll mention this. Universities, okay, payments are going to colleges that have received millions of dollars from Arab countries like Qatar and Saudi. In coupling this program, okay, they want to teach people about the Arab world in a very friendly, notice, propagandistic fashion. Coupling the program with foreign funding is a backdoor route to Saudi or Islamic influence. Faculty, okay, some of the universities employ faculty or host guests who are very anti-Jewish and anti-Israel. To put it mildly. Universities funded by the DOE, the Department of Education, to help shape the way US K through 12 schools and colleges portray the Middle East are simultaneously bankrolled. This number is way more than 600 million. You can put in the 1.7 billion, $2 billion from Qatar and all the rest as well. It runs into the multiple billions of dollars, right? So you've got, they all fund anti-Americanism, okay? They all teach about how Americans are racist and bad, and anti-Semitism, how Israel is bad, because obviously they want to destroy that alliance and they want to make sure America is weak, right? So they want to incorporate Islam or Sharia law in the governments and have an overwhelmingly Muslim population. So these countries are sending tons of money, and they want to even change, so that they're working to change literally kindergarten through high school, right? So these guys are very, very hard at work. So China, now this number says $10 billion. I've just shown you that we can trace at least $16.6 billion. Now remember, that number is rising by what, $2 billion a year, right? It's roughly, I mean, if you look at 6 years, 16 billion, it's $2.5 billion a year. So you can add, so if these numbers are a year and a half old, you can add another 3 billion on top. You're looking at nearly $20 billion in funding, $20,000 million. What are they getting for this money?
Lloyd, you keep asking the very important question of what are they getting for that money? Why is it that the federal government of the US is allowing such donations? How come they are not stopping it, not realizing it's like a subvertive war against their...
Because they've already infiltrated the government. They've got a friendly government. They've already got all these people coming out of university. They're in government and they're friendly to Islam. They've already got their friends on the inside. Now, notice here, so understand, they've already got a huge foothold, a massive foothold.
Wow.
Right? They're already deep in. They're already deep into the government. This is a list of very, very wealthy Saudi billionaires. But notice the bin Laden family, the richest family in Saudi Arabia, is not on here. They're the largest construction empire in the whole of the Middle East, the bin Laden family. Okay? Mm-hmm. These guys, I mean, $20 billion. These are very wealthy people. And the king of Saudi Arabia is not on here either. Okay? So these numbers are out of date, but yeah. So the Israel has 21 billionaires apparently in 2019, but the US has 600, China 324. Saudi, for some reason, does not appear on this rich list. Why is that? Right? Saudi just disappears. This information is just made to disappear. Understand? So there's a lot of fudging going on the financial stuff. There's a lot of fudging going on here. So yeah, I'll take that away for the moment. Any other questions?
No, please continue in the meantime. It's very clear.
Yeah. So let me see here. Okay, so maybe I can annoy people. Maybe I can do something to annoy people. Um, so, for instance, the Rothschilds. Okay. Now, I don't want to speak out of turn because I shouldn't really speak when I don't have all my facts in front of me. But the Walmart family, the family that owned Walmart, are richer than the Rothschilds. I know that everyone loves the conspiracy theories. They've invested a lot into it. But you see, there is no longer centralized Rothschild family wealth. At the time that Nathan Rothschild, whatever, back in 250 years ago, back then, he was very wealthy because $5 would buy you a house. Okay, $10 would buy you a castle. $15 would buy you a country because the dollar was worth a lot of money back then. He was alone. He had no kids. Now, since then, he's had 5,000 heirs. The money's been split. Businesses have failed. Things have gone wrong, etc., etc. So let's have a look. The Rothschild Group, the family, their annual revenue is approximately $500 million. Has $500 million, 500 million approximately. Probably not even that anymore. In comparison, the world's largest country, Walmart, has an annual revenue of nearly $500 billion. That's 1,000 times larger. Walmart has 1,000 times more money than the Rothschilds.
But you know what the guys are going to say? All their money is hidden. It's not.
It's all secret. Yeah. Well, exactly. It's like the secret Talmud.
I'm still waiting for my copy of the
secret Talmud. I'm still waiting for the secret Talmud. I mean, no matter what you tell them, so no, the aliens show me the alien. No, the aliens are hiding. Look, excuse my French here, but fuck you. That's the correct answer to these people. Fuck you. That's bullshit. Okay? We need facts. I don't need conspiracy theories. I don't need crap like that. That is just, you cannot face reality. So there, if you're offended, leave. I hope that makes it clear.
It does.
So obviously the Jews control the money supply. It's a wonderful narrative, but unfortunately lacks any sort of facts. Bring us facts, bring us figures, bring us proper citations, right? So yeah. Now, for instance, they say the Rothschilds have amassed great wealth since the 1700s, okay? They say they have a net worth of $500 trillion, or they own 80% of the world's wealth. Now, I've heard these claims, I've read these claims, I've seen these claims. The world's total wealth in 2015 was estimated to be only 250 trillion, half of what the Rothschilds alone are claimed to possess. There isn't even that much money in the world. And the Rothschilds are supposed to be that wealthy. This is lunacy. Understand? Let's be realistic, okay? And also, if not everything is about money, okay? A lot of things are about influence. It's about having connections. These things do count, certainly. But a lot of the conspiracy theories we need to take with a grain of salt. We need to be more realistic about what we look at. We need to analyze these things far more dispassionately.
But
global wealth.
Let me be the devil's advocate for a second and say, what if the Rothschild realize that it's not about how much money they have, but about how much control they have? So what if?
Of course. Even Rockefeller said it's not about owning things, it's about controlling things. Sorry?
So what if, for example, if they control the actual Federal Reserve, so they don't have money in their coffins, but they control the entire monetary system? Would that be a stupid assumption as well?
I mean, look, you can certainly make the speculation. Do you have the proof?
I don't have the proof.
Okay. I mean, one can cite evil as a cause, and one can also cite abject stupidity. Okay. You can cite ingrained policy that's just dumb. Right? There's lots of things we can talk about. I mean, there's also all of these people obviously favor themselves. They favor their own causes, right? They're not there for you and me, right? The wolves, when they decide to have lamb for dinner, it's not in the lamb's interests, right? But that said, look, Rockefeller did say it's not about ownership, it's about influence. He said, a quote similar to that along those lines. Okay, it's not about what you own, it's what you control. Okay. But then sometimes you need to own it to control it. There is that, right? But understand, Benjamin the Rothschild. Now, people talk about the wealth. Now, we can track what we can track, what evidence we do have for the wealth of people like the Rothschilds. Benjamin the Rothschild was ranked of the Forbes rich list, he was ranked at number 1,121 with a net worth of 1.6 billion. So really, people need to stop harping on 250-year-old facts and rumors.
I almost feel bad for the guy. Just 1,120.
Well, here's another thing. There's another Rothschild on the rich list, but he doesn't belong to the Rothschild's family. He has the name. He's not a member of the family. What's that? So really, so let's have a look. Aggregate net worth of the richest Arabs. Okay. So 123 billion apparently spread among 42 billionaires. So Saudi Arabia counts the most billionaires. But notice, not one of the rich lists from Forbes and others that we looked at earlier has them on the list. Notice they were not on the previous list, but it says here they're the most billionaires. Mm-hmm. Okay, so understand, there's a lot of fudging going on here. There's a lot of issues here with these numbers. Okay, so there's a lot of weirdness going on with these numbers, and lots of very wealthy Arabs. Now, maybe these wealthy Arabs have a role to play in what's going on in the world, you know, or people are going to start claiming that these guys are just innocent as the driven snow, you know. So yeah. Okay, so we've spoken about some of this. Now have a look here. So these are sovereign wealth funds. Okay, these are sovereign wealth funds that have a lot of money. The Saudis, they claim to have $160 billion. We know that their royal family's worth about $1.4 trillion. Okay, and Abu Dhabi Investment Authority. So this money fluctuates. They've had $1 trillion in the past. Okay, so there's a lot of money floating around in these sovereign wealth funds. Abu Dhabi, 700 billion. Norway government pension fund, $1 trillion. Are the Norwegians doing something evil because they've got even more money? Small country, floating on oil, well managed. Right? We maybe want to ask these questions. These tiny countries as well wield a huge punch. So look, if someone wants to unpack the numbers and go through this, maybe they'll find something that they don't know. But understand, the Muslims work as a group. They work together. There's at least 21 of these countries that operate together. There's 50-something Islamic countries. They operate together as a voting bloc in the United Nations. But within the as a conglomerate, as a business conglomerate, the 21 most wealthy operate together, right? So you can count their money together and their influence together. So anything on that? I'll just let this one go for the moment.
No,
may I just
it's very clear.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Martin,
just the sense that I'm getting, and thank you ever so much for this, mate. It's fascinating. The sense that I'm getting is that at some point the previous biggest influencers, the traditional influencers of a long period of time, have been kind of overthrown and outgrown, and that there is a cult for which there isn't a numeric financial agenda. It's driven by a cult that's pushing this forward relentlessly, and this is the direction they're doing it through the education.
Yes. And we're being told, well, look at this old 250-year-old story that's now way out of date, that isn't supported by any facts, but by just some crap I made up. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the richest Rothschild is lower than 1,000 on the rich list. Why isn't he at number one? No, but of course it's hidden money. He's got secret money. Scrooge McDuck. Yeah. So there's something going on here. So, okay, now moving back on. Hopefully that was illustrative and without being overly detailed and clunky. Let's just finish this. As a reminder, so notice this is Qatar's university spend. This is 2 years ago, right? This is Saudi Arabia. This is Israel here. Now add this together. This crap's going to run off the right-hand side of the screen. Israel's going to be left in the dust. But of course, you know, we need to ignore all of this. We need to ignore all of this. We need to ignore this because these guys here, right. So I think I covered that. So again, Islamic countries, Israel, okay, 53 million, right? This is, I think, 2011 to 2018. And this was up to 2018, 2.5 billion. As you know now, this number goes up to over $4 billion, right? This number is almost doubled since then. Right. So understand, these Muslims, they couldn't change your mind. So they are going after your children. Keep that in mind.
That's a very strong statement.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. They are indoctrinating your children in kindergarten. Right. Now, I'm not going to go into depth on this one, Sharia finance. 3 years ago, Sharia finance in the US alone was worth $3 trillion. $3 trillion. Hot trend 2017, rise of Islamic banks on Main Street, USA. Hot trend, Islamic banking. Is there Catholic banking on Main Street, USA? Does anyone know? Anyone in the US can tell me? Catholic banking? Baptist banking? Anybody? Christian banking? Anybody?
None.
None. Jewish banking? No. Catholic banking? No. Catholics are evil. Everyone knows that. Everyone says that. Like, apparently, whatever. Islamic banking? Not a peep. Crickets. Why is that? $3 trillion worth. And in 2020, they estimated this would be over $4 trillion. More money than the richest US bank. More money than the richest US bank. And these people work in concert. In the United States, a financial revolution is going on under the radar. A quiet revolution. It's the rise of Islamic financial institutions. The wolves are gathering for your benefit. They are even in small community banks in the Midwest to nationwide investment banks and brokerage firms. They are everywhere. They fund terrorism. They are in Washington, D.C. They are tied to lobbying groups. Hillary Clinton, Bengali banks, Iranian banks, Qatari banks, you name it. Okay? So they've become a force to be reckoned with. They grew from 200 billion in 2000 to 3 trillion, and they expect $4 trillion in the 2020s. If we look at it today, it's going to be over $4 trillion. That is not small change. Pardon me. Okay. Notice it says there are now more than 300 banks and 250 mutual funds in the world, in the Western world, complying with Islamic principles. I don't know of any Catholic banks. These are Muslim banks. They are growing. They are invading and infiltrating the US and European financial systems. They're a cancer. They're growing. Total assets.
Can you give us an example for Islamic principles in banking? Like
the way that they calculate loans. I mean, it's not really. I've done it in the past. The thing is, I had to get my notes ready to talk about it because it was hard to go off the cuff. But basically, look, it's Islamic money. It goes, remember, 15% of their money has to be spent on jihad, right? That's part of the Islamic law. So they're going to be funding some kind of, you are undermining your own government by financing these people. They are using that money to undermine your own communities. They're funding their own initiatives. They're not there for you. The largest bank in the US, JP Morgan, Chase & Co., New York, $2.5 trillion. That's their wealth. Islamic banking is already worth more than that. Okay, these guys compete. Of course, in some ways they will work together. Goldman Sachs is only 916 billion. Okay, they're quite a bit smaller than these guys. So yeah, next question. The royal family. Now, another thing to think about, and everyone can argue as much as they like here. The British monarchy is estimated to have a wealth of 86 to 88 billion dollars. Now, a couple of years ago, there was like only one article because only one institution had done the maths. Okay, since then, you can find numerous articles that discuss the wealth of the British royal family. So their wealth is estimated at about 86 to 88 billion dollars. Let me go back here.
Excuse me, can I jump in with one?
Sure, please.
Recently, there was a bereavement in the royal family, and the Queen's husband died. When he died, his will was sealed for 70 years, non-disclosure.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be, look, the royal family obviously they're part of the state, right? Now, understand that we can say, yes, the assets that are part of the royal family are worth 86, 88 billion US dollars. However, the Queen cannot simply decide tomorrow morning, she wakes up and goes, you know what? I need a new Mercedes. I need a new Jag. I'm going to sell Buckingham Palace. She cannot do that because technically she doesn't own it. It is state property. She doesn't have the rights to do that. The Queen does not have the right to decide to go to the Tower of London and sell the crown jewels. It is not possible because she doesn't actually own it. Maybe in name, but it is a state asset. She cannot sell it. Understand? That's why you always see these movies about them being stolen, because you can't actually buy them, because they're not for sale. They cannot ever be for sale. The Queen cannot sell them. Prince Charles, as dumb as he is, he can't sell them either, even if he might want to, right?
Look, do you mind if I ask you a question as well?
Sure.
In the event that Britain is at some point overtaken by Islam, which I don't think is completely out of the realms of possibility given the demographic trends and everything, what would happen to the royal family? Do you think they would be subject to jizya, or would they be deposed entirely?
The royal family would probably join Islam because it would be the smart move to make, or the thing is, to attack them would probably incite the population against them, so it would be a political move. They'd need to get them on side, or they would need to somehow treat them well, leave them alone, basically. The royal family is supposed to be apolitical.
Perfectly acceptable in Sharia law. Lying is part and parcel of what you have to do. So there are no rules. There's no boundaries as to what they can and can't do. Right. They can lie to the entire nation. It's part of their religion to do so, isn't it? I remember you saying.
Correct. Yeah, lying is perfectly legal. In fact, it is obligatory. Now, so let me just go here. Let me just bring this up. Now, for instance, Queen Elizabeth, her net wealth, okay? Her net wealth is approximately $532 million, according to the actual assets that she owns, okay? So according to multiple sources that I've looked at, okay, her personal net wealth, okay, is about $530 million. Let me have a look here. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. So they get a sovereign grant from the government, but 349 million pounds, approximately $530 million. Okay, she gets rent from properties. Okay, there's certain rights and things which she's owned, and the government pays them a stipend, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the remaining 75% goes to the British Treasury. Fascinating stuff. So they only take 35% of the rental income. Interesting. So they don't even get to keep all the money. Okay, so the Crown Estate pays taxes, right? So now understand her net wealth, the Queen's net wealth is $530 million from what she personally owns. She does not own all the land that she supposedly owns. That is not true. Okay, so all those fantastic wealth that they have, they don't own it. It is state property. They cannot sell it. They have no right to it. It's not available to them. Hopefully that is clear. Okay, hopefully that's clear. Unless you think you can make an offer for the crown jewels and the Queen will sell them to you. Okay, so understand, they in theory have $80-90 billion. In practice, they have less than one. They've got 2% of that.
Lloyd,
okay.
may I question?
Sure.
A question.
Sure.
I'm thinking along the lines of what you're kind of reinforcing it in my mind, because it's got onto British soil now. This would incorporate the value of things like artworks. It would value things like documents, books, things like that would all be state property. Would they? Is that? We are taking it that far, aren't we?
Furniture, lands, buildings, all these museums, all these museum pieces, all of that stuff. It's state property. They don't own it. They hold it for the state, technically, or whatever, or however they want to call it, but it's not owned by them. They cannot sell them.
And we have something called the National Trust, which again ties in with that narrative.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, it's not. I'd have to look on research. I'd have to look into that. But the thing is, everyone has these simplistic stories that fit their narrative that are absolutely wrong. Right? It's convenient because they can sell their narrative, sell their story. The Queen is a lizard, and she owns $500 billion worth of jewels. No, she doesn't. By the way, just something that came up recently. This is from John Adams. Okay, and I'm not going to get into a discussion about this right now, but I just thought this was interesting. John Adams said, "We have no government armed with power capable of contending with human passions unbridled by morality and religion. Avarice, ambition, and revenge or gallantry would break the strongest cords of our constitution as a whale goes through a net." So he's stating here that only morality and religion can keep man's passions, his wildest excesses, in check, so that he would be a moral, upstanding citizen who would uphold the law and not be some sort of vigilante or go crazy and destroy the rule of law that's built up. Our constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. So notice there's a very strong discussion here in terms of the moral makeup of the U.S. and the U.S. Constitution, and and how their beliefs have colored the Bill of Rights and so on. Okay, so now I'm going to step away from that.
I would just like to add that it's exactly what they are attacking: morality and religion.
Correct. And if you guys have watched Yuri Bezmenov, that's the Russian defector who is so popular on YouTube, who speaks of the Russian infiltration. I mean, everything he says said in the 80s has come true now. He predicted all of this. He said it was happening. It has happened. And you know what he says is the cure for these crazy zombie hordes that have been infected with these with this woke disease? Guess what he says is the cure for that? Harry, you want to guess? Anyone wants to guess?
I actually don't remember. I was so focused on the problems. I don't remember I heard the solution.
Okay. So Yuri Bezmenov says that... Sorry, yeah?
I was being a bit facetious, but I said a bullet.
Well, yeah, besides a wall of bullets, which sometimes is a good solution, I guess. But Yuri Bezmenov said in his talk that the only solution for dealing with these zealots that have been indoctrinated with this woke disease, this woke communist disease, he says the only thing that will get through to them, the only thing that will give them what they need to fix their morality, he said, is Christianity. He said they need a firm religious foundation, they need a firm moral foundation, and this can only come from Christianity. That is why the woke masses, the crazy zealots, attack Christianity and attack Christian morality. So make a note of that. I didn't say that. Yuri Bezmenov said it. If you guys and everyone talks about Yuri Bezmenov in glowing terms, well, now's your turn to turn around and smear him because you boys are hypocrites, as we all know. Okay? Because you're a bunch of hypocrites. Because Yuri Bezmenov's awesome because he's saying what we like, and now he says something that you may not like. Well, he said it, not me. So just keep that in mind, right? Okay, so let's finish this whole thing. So let's finish. Saudi Arabia has enormous power. So this guy says here, John MacArthur says, and he's a Democrat, okay? American journalist, leftist. Somehow, I can't shake the idea that the Israel lobby, no matter how powerful, is not all it's cracked up to be, particularly where it concerns the Bush administrations, past and present. When I think of pernicious, that's toxic, foreign lobbies with disproportionate sway over American politics, I cannot see past Saudi Arabia and its royal house led by King Abdullah. There's a long and corrupt history of American-Saudi relations. Interesting that this guy says this. Right? He says, there you go. That's him saying that in black and white. So this is said in 2007. Okay, to continue. This guy, yes, quickly, say again.
I was just adding that the same definitely applies to Britain.
Say that again, please. Sorry, you're breaking up.
Sorry, my friend. I said the same definitely applies to Britain.
Yes. Yeah, Britain has a special relationship there too. Unfortunately, the term religion of peace comes from this guy, and there's Nahad Awad from CARE, which is Hamas, which is the Muslim Brotherhood. CARE is Hamas in America. Hamas is the Muslim Brotherhood, right? So this is the Muslim Brotherhood, and all of these guys, members of the Muslim Brotherhood, standing behind George Bush, who gives us one of the most unfortunate lines in history ever spoken. He calls Islam a religion of peace, and that is now stuck, and that is very, very unfortunate. And was it an accident? Was it deliberate? Was he a dupe? Was he willing? We don't know. But he did get at least $1.7 billion out of them, so maybe, who knows? So, and finally, just to end off here, and to end this, so Israel by size. Let's have a look. This is America. That's Israel right there. As you can see, that's Israel. That's Israel compared to India. This is Israel compared to Mexico. This is Israel compared to Iran by land size, okay? Now, this is Saudi Arabia. This is Israel superimposed. You can see this tiny dot here, that's Israel. Israel is up against 19 nations that are technically at war with it. 19 nations that are technically at war with Israel, that have no peace treaty signed. They've never formally declared a ceasefire. Right. Now, let's look at Israel. So let's look at the green area. Okay. You'll find Muslims in all of these green areas, majority Muslim nations. And this is Israel right here, as if there's no room for the Muslims to go. Right. That is Israel. So the green area, as everybody knows, the green area are caves, right? Camels, box cutters, just a small minority of violent jihadis. They have no money, they have no oil, they have no power, they have no US or European political influence, and they've got no space for the Fakistinians to go. This little tiny red area here, this tiny red area, of course, has, as we all know, unlimited money and unlimited power, as the narrative goes. So, any questions? I think that wraps this one up.
The only question I have is if anyone can see me waving my hand on the map.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have to, so remember,
Wow.
ignore the green part. Ignore the green part. Ignore all the green. Yes, someone said?
That's just was an absolutely brilliant way to end what I've sat and listened to for the last 3 weeks. That map there just says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah. So we need to ignore these 1.8 billion people and worry about the 8 million here. That's what we're told. So, yeah. So, yeah, that ends that. Hopefully that was enlightening and useful to you. You know, hopefully it gave you something interesting to work with.
It was incredible. And if I'm not mistaken, this is concluding the talks about Islam, right?
Yes, I think that should be fine. Until something else comes up one fine day, but hopefully that, yeah.
I would actually like... Yeah, I would actually like for you to come and give us one lecture of like a concluding lecture, if you feel like. And I understand that the next one is going to be now the second chapter of the Noahide laws, and then we are going to go to the Talmud.
Yeah, the plan is to do. Yeah, I just want to wrap up a little bit of what we started before. Just to, I don't have to go into detail anymore. I've laid the groundwork. I just want to give you guys some. Yeah, so that's where I finished death penalty. Yep. So while we have a bit of time, I've done 45 minutes, so I will do a little bit more now. All right. On the laws of Noah, because I just mentioned that a little bit about the Constitution, about the American Constitution being a religious constitution for a religious people, or at least having Christian moral overtones for a Christian people, right? And the natural law that we have is a biblical creation, right? And let me do something. Actually, let me bring up this. So let me start with this. And just for those who missed this previously, I think this may be educational. Okay. So, right. We're going to talk quickly about religious wars and talk about the importance of what is called Judeo-Christian values. Now, many people obviously contest this. Those people can go jump in a lake. Okay. So the Encyclopedia of Wars. Okay. And another resource is what's called the BBC War Audit. Okay. Very easy to find, the BBC War Audit. Now, the Encyclopedia of Wars is an encyclopedia written by Charles Phillips and Alan Axelrod, and it documents the history of recorded warfare from 8000 BC until 2000 AD. So it catalogs 10,000 years of human warfare. And they have a list, now not battles, right? Wars, right? They have 1,763 wars listed in their encyclopedia, of which between 121 to 123, a maximum of 123, have been classified to involve a religious cause or a religious factor. Okay? These religious wars account for less than 7% of all wars and less than 2% of all people killed in warfare. So the false claims by ignorant people, dishonest people, maliciously evil people, I don't know, you guys take your pick. People who tell you that Christianity causes wars, the correct scientific terminology for that is bullshit. You look at them and you say, you are talking bullshit. You are a bullshitter. You're a dumb. I hope that makes it clear. Because,
Lloyd,
yes?
The 123 wars are including the wars with Islam, with the different...
So this includes all religious wars, anything that could have a potentially religious involvement in some shape, way, or form. Okay, even if they've got to stretch it a little bit to say there's a religious war going on here, it's got some kind of, call it a religious component. Okay, so less than 7% of all wars are religious, and less than 2% of fatalities are religiously related. Now, they estimate that 1 million to 3 million people were tragically killed in the Crusades. The Crusades lasted for what, hundreds of years? Okay, new documents state that 3,000 people, possibly even less, were killed in the Inquisition, right? Were killed in the Inquisition. Now, interesting, the Inquisition lasted over 400 years. In other words, there were like 5 people killed every year, tops. 4 to 5 people a year were killed, not by the Catholic Church. These were people killed by the state. Okay, but that's a story for another day. So understand, the Inquisition was killing maybe 4, maybe 5 people a year for 400 years. That is hardly, it's unfortunate, but it's not an atrocity on the scale of World War I, where 35 million people in 4 years lost their lives. And that was a secular war, because I don't think the Catholic Church was fighting the Irish Protestants at the time, personally. I don't think it happened like that. Okay? So 35 million people in 4 years, 1914 to 1918. This number here is slightly bigger. Now, I'm from Africa. I could be really stupid, but this number is a little bit bigger than these numbers. Okay? So if we work out, actually, let's try and do a little bit of maths here. How many, so, okay, 365 times 4. That's 1,460 days. Let's have a look at 35 million divided by 1,460 days. So, World War I killed 24,000 people a day. 24,000 people a day. It was not a religious war. It was one of those secular wars brought to you by those fantastic atheist nations and all that nonsense, right? So, because, yeah. Whereas the Inquisition was killing 4 to 5 people per year. Okay, let's take this number 23,972. Let's multiply that by 365. 8.75 million people a year killed in World War I. I think the maths is pretty obvious. It speaks for itself here. Hopefully that makes it clear. So World War I versus the supposed Christian atrocities. I hope the idiots who've been lying on YouTube and lying on Telegram and lying on Facebook and lying everywhere, or spreading lies, maybe unwittingly, but still part of the lie, promoting the lie, speaking the lie, believing the lie. So, no, the secret numbers, right? Secret numbers. Yeah. So World War I, this is World War I. This is the Crusades. This is 400 years of warfare, whatever it was. The Inquisition doesn't even show up. And here you go, World War I. Those numbers are a little bit different. So this is the Encyclopedia of Wars. Okay. And when people make the claim that religion causes war, let's have a look here. This is government wars. Governments kill people. If you want to know who kills people, governments kill people. Okay. So let's have a look. Non-Islamic wars. This is every religion on earth except Islam. So Islam has caused more wars, violence, and killing than all religions on earth combined. This is all religions on earth combined. So if those liars who like to lie, who lie a lot, would stop lying about the Catholic Church and Christianity and wars, please stop. Or bring us some good numbers. Bring me some good numbers. Bring us some facts. Right? Bring some numbers. Find another encyclopedia of complete bullshit that I pulled out of my ass and bring me those numbers. Okay? So, yeah. So, now, there are vast genocides, people killed in ethnic cleanses, purges that are not connected to declared wars. They don't even have those numbers in there because these were declared wars. These are not based on religion. Okay, so there are ethnic purges like the Rwandan genocides. Millions died. That was not a declared war. Those numbers are not even in these numbers here. Now, this is 8000 BC to 2000 AD. So understand, communism is a state religion, blah, 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 and communism caused at least 120 million deaths in the 20th century. Okay, so notice atheist leaders, atheists, because atheists love to say that atheism is going to bring us peace. Well, these famous atheists right here killed at least 110 million people, according to the BBC War Audit, in the 20th century alone, which is more than all religious wars in the previous 2,000 years combined. Thanks, atheism. And all of these leaders, just so by the way, were bent on the destruction of religion. So I'll pause here. I'll stop here. I'll just leave this one at this point. Your thoughts, Harry, before I go on. Any comments from anyone?
This is an incredible slide, and maybe you can send some resources to the group.
This is in my notes. This is in my notes. Actually, so let me go here. Actually, guys, you've got. Okay, hold on. You know what? Yes, I do have it. So I will go here. So I will send you I will drop this link right now in the chat. Okay, this is part of the standard set of facts that I always provide, set of resources that I always provide. It is now in the chat. And what you're looking for, this is searchable. You can click here. This takes us to the search. Okay, and you can go to stats here. Okay, nothing found. Bugger, I need to enter. No. Notebook section. It's not going to find it. Don't worry. Just go here and look for stats, religious wars. So let's just go down. It's in this list here. Okay, just help me out here. Blah, 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 blah. I just saw it a moment ago, and there we go. Stats, religious wars. It's here. All of it's here. Now, this is publicly available. I make this available to everyone. Have a look. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that everyone is lying except you, that every single academic, every single resource, every single fact is manufactured except the crap coming out of your mouth. Excuse my French, but I've dealt with too many people who've told me too many lies, and I really have no time for that. That's why I've done a lot of this stuff, because I've just heard too many people claiming that they walk on water while lying through their teeth all the time. So yeah, that's just my annoyance with certain people. Okay, any comment?
Thank you.
I'll wrap this. Welcome. Does that change anyone's perspective? So you guys listening, does this change your perspective? Does this give you new perspective on that old story?
Can I just say it's?
Sure.
I am so grateful for your time and the evidence of the effort and the work that you've put in. For me, over this last 3 weeks, it's been a proper little journey, and there's been an awful lot to take in, and it's summarised it brilliantly. But I feel like I understand a complete concept of who it is that's attacking us, how they're attacking us, where they're coming from, the modus operandi behind it. Yeah, it really it is a bloody good overview. If you want to know where it's coming from, that's nailed it. Yeah, that's how I feel anyway. That's what I'm kind of taking from it, a far greater clarity as to where the perpetrators of this whole problem, in whatever aspect you're looking at, is coming from there.
Well,
Martin,
thank you.
I would just like to remind you that you came in the last 3 weeks to watch Lloyd's work, but we have another maybe 11 or 12 chapters previously. Everything is available on the walls of the groups.
Yeah, and also my YouTube channel. I have an active YouTube channel. I'll drop that in the link right now. Actually, I'll just do this now. It's right in the public links. So I will drop my YouTube channel again in the chat so you guys can have a look. And yeah, feel free to subscribe. And yeah, I have plenty of content that should annoy people, should annoy them plenty. And
feel your passion, mate.
So again,
feel your passion. That's I understand from how you put things across. You can tell it bloody annoys you. The affronts that you must have had with this information to your hands, kind of thing. I can feel that in how you put it across. There's a lot of people that will appreciate this, you know. Well done, you, mate. Thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah, for some reason my search function is not working correctly on the web-based app. I'm not sure why. It should be instant. It's deciding to have issues, so it's not finding this. This should be in the notebook. Very, very odd. So let me bring up Noah again. Okay, whatever. Noah is right up here. Covenant of Noah. Okay, so guys, I'll do a few minutes of this. Obviously, my voice gets tired after a while. I prefer a conversation than I do a lecture. Okay, but as you can see, the same content that I have in my desktop app is available to you. So you have the same notes, the access to the same resources. Feel free to go through it and say, Lloyd, you lied about every single link. You made it all up. You wrote it yourself. I mean, everything you see in blue here, this is a link to a resource. Everything is cited. Everything is linked to someone that has some level of authority, okay, that is speaking about all of this. It links to whatever. Understand? So you can see I have literally hundreds of citations in this one page alone. Hundreds of citations. I didn't go, my mommy said that you're stupid. I went, no, I have a citation from your mother with a letter to the doctor, right, saying that she wants to know why you're so stupid. And here's a JPEG, and here's a link to the file, and et cetera, et cetera. Understand? So yeah, I've made very sure that I have lots and lots of citations, that I'm not just making it up. Okay, so excuse my sarcasm, but yeah, dude, you have no idea the trouble I've been through with people dealing with this nonsense. Okay, so let me continue here. Oh, darn it. I hate when it does that to me. Okay. So we covered previously, we covered the death penalty in, oh, come on, please. We covered the death penalty in Israel, and for a very, very supposedly bloodthirsty nation, they've only had 2 capital punishments in the last 70-something years, in the last 7.5 decades. Only 2 people have died by capital punishment. The one was a Nazi, very, very well-known Nazi, called Adolf Eichmann, and the other was a man who was, unfortunately, his sentence was commuted after his death. Okay, and yeah, so in fact, and I did go through the Talmud to show that the rabbis state that a Jewish legal tribunal that is willing to perform the capital punishment once in every 7 decades, that is once in every 70 years, is too violent. I've covered that in the past. Feel free to dispute that with me in the comments, and I will show you that you're an ignorant fool for free. Okay? So now understand that the natural law that we work with is a biblical invention. It's a Jewish invention, right? You can say Judeo-Christian, so which will annoy other people, but that's fine. Okay, so let's talk about this. So the covenant of Noah, just to refresh everyone's mind, the 10 Commandments came with Moses. But what was the law prior to the law of Moses? What law were the people of Judah following? People known as the Jews today. What were they following prior to the law of Moses? Was there no law? Were they lawless? Or was there law? So it seemed there was a law. It wasn't necessarily written down explicitly, but we do have 7 of these laws. They're called the laws of Noah, because these laws made Abraham righteous. They made Noah righteous. They feared God, they loved God, they obeyed God. They obeyed certain laws which set them apart from the people around them and made them righteous. Right? So to refresh on what the 7 laws of Noah are, I guess I'll just go up here. So the 7 laws of Noah are the following. Thou shalt not deny or curse God. Thou shalt not worship idols. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not perform adultery or sexual immorality. Thou shalt not steal. And you will not eat flesh torn from a living animal or drink its blood. And you will establish courts of justice. And of course, it does state that you are to teach the Gentiles these laws so that they will establish courts of justice according to their culture. It doesn't state impose your culture. It says teach them what is moral in God's eyes so that they can establish courts of justice according to their culture. Understand, these laws were radical. They changed human civilization. Now, 6 of these laws are exegetically, in other words, when you take the information that is in the Bible, you can then extrapolate. Let's call it, they can extrapolate the concepts, the ideas, even if not explicitly stated, you can extrapolate these, and then you can find what was inferred or implied. Right? So 6 of these laws are exegetically derived from the book of Genesis in the Bible. The 7th is the establishment of courts of justice. Now, of course, there are those who want to make the claim that the courts of justice so the Jews can behead you and kill you and control you, and that's just utter crap. Because, anyway, whatever. Moving on. 5 of these laws. Also, if you look at the book of Romans, if you look at the New Testament, the book of Romans, Paul speaks extensively about the requirements of the law, about the authority of those who administrate the law. And yeah, so then if the Jews are bad, then St. Paul is bad. But then again, lots of people go around saying St. Paul is bad, so whatever. So understand, so there's nothing you can tell these people. They'll just twist everything. Now, 5 of these laws are repeated in the 10 commandments. So 5 of the laws of Noah, right? These are the Noahide laws that people claim are a conspiracy by the Jews to kill the world, to kill everyone who's not a Jew. Okay? So 5 of these laws are in the 10 commandments. So by that logic, the people who make this claim have to then accept that the 10 commandments are half evil. Okay? If anyone would like to make that statement, you're welcome to speak up, because 5 of these laws are verbatim in the 10 commandments. So if the 7 laws of Noah are satanic and evil, then the 10 commandments are half evil, 50% evil. So, and personally, I'm not sure what is wrong with not murdering people, not shagging your neighbor's wife or 3-year-old girls, not stealing stuff. Not sure there's a problem with that. Okay? If anyone does have a problem with those things and thinks they should be legal, well, let us know. So we can, I don't know, ban you, mock you, ridicule you, call the police on you, tell your mom what you get up to at night, all of those things. Now, the New Testament does quote the Old Testament directly 855 times, and it quotes it indirectly, I think, an additional 250 times. So there's like 1,200 references to the Old Testament in the New Testament. Now, 5 of the laws, as I said, are repeated in the 10 Commandments, but 9 of the 10 Commandments are repeated and renewed in the New Testament. So, oddly enough, the 10 Commandments still apply within the New Testament context to Christians, because it's repeated, it's affirmed within the New Testament, right? So the covenant of Noah applies to all of humanity because it's an everlasting covenant between God and every living creature that is on the earth. Genesis 9:12-17. Now I will skip forward again, right? So it's the basis of natural law. The early church fathers viewed this as the basis of natural law, but an enhanced form of natural law. This is what made people righteous prior to the coming of the laws of Moses, right? The Mosaic law. So I'll continue and I'll jump through this without going too far. So understand, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth. So have families. Understand that the woke terrorists among us, those are the woke agenda, the communist agenda, don't want us to be fruitful and multiply. Yes, certainly they want others, except for you, to be fruitful and multiply because they want to replace you, the great replacement, right? Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you, right? Only you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is its blood. So you shall not drink the blood of living animals. You shall not be a vampire. Okay? And for your lifeblood, I will surely require a reckoning. So if you are killed, if your life is taken, there shall be a reckoning. There must be a legal reckoning for murder. Okay? Whoever shells the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. So here the death penalty is actually stipulated by God, right? And okay, moving on here. So let us have a look. So the 7 laws of Noah: do not deny God or commit idolatry. That links up here with the very first of the 10 commandments. I am the Lord thy God, who brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee a graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or earth beneath, or that is under the water. Thou shalt not bow down to them, nor serve them. And thou shalt not. Okay, so understand, the first 2 commandments are effectively the same as the first of the 7 laws of Noah. Do not misuse the name of God. Thou shalt not misuse the name of the Lord thy God in vain. The technical Hebrew word is carry. Thou shalt not carry the name. In other words, do not do evil in my name, right? So these are a match, right? Do not murder. And of course, we can see here, law 6, thou shalt not murder. Do not engage in sexual immorality or adultery. Law 7, thou shalt not commit adultery. Law 5, do not steal. Law 8, thou shalt not steal. Okay, these were received according to the Jewish calendar in 2105 BC, and the law of Moses is in 1313 BC. So they were received much earlier, but 800 years prior, right? So understand, these laws come prior, and they make up the basis. They're the early precursor to the 10 Commandments. Now, many people will tell us that, for instance, that these laws are in the in Hammurabi, the law of Hammurabi. Now, I know it's Hammurabi here, but many people say, well, Hammurabi beat you to it. But that's not true either. Facts are very important. Okay. Now, facts don't care about your feelings, but we all know that feelings don't care about your facts. So yeah, we're at a stalemate here. But anyway, stealing. Punishment by God's law within the biblical context, the original biblical context, you must restore double. Exodus 22, verse 9. For all manner of trespass, whether it be ox, ass, sheep, garment, he shall pay double unto his neighbor. And this person is considered your neighbor. Do not defraud your neighbor. Under Hammurabi's law, death. As you can see, they're exactly the same. Identical laws. Crazy how similar they are for those people who claim that Hammurabi beat the Bible to these laws. Burglary, restore double. If the thief be found, let him pay double. Under Hammurabi's law, death. Again, identical. It's amazing how similar these are. Excuse my sarcasm. Harboring a fugitive slave. There is no offense. In Deuteronomy 23:15, there is no offense for harboring a fugitive slave. The Bible does not endorse slavery. Now, certainly, look, we can talk at length about that. That's another topic for another day. But under Hammurabi's law, death. Injuring a slave. Freedom is given to the slave under the Jewish law. And here the master is compensated. Screw the slave. Injuring a rich man. The same injury is inflicted on the injurer. The same injury. Okay, there we've got correspondence under Hammurabi's law. Injuring a poor man. The same injury. So rich or poor, same. Fine of 1 mina of silver. I don't know, like 5 cents or whatever. Injury followed by death to a rich man's daughter. Each case judged on its own merits. Death of the injurer's daughter. Yeah, so I think you can see Hammurabi's law and the biblical law are a little bit different, just fractionally, slightly different. Now, the descendants of Noah, this would mean all of humanity, were commanded to observe the 7 mitzvot, the 7 laws, right? And so it's idolatry, incest, murder, cursing the name of God, which is blasphemy, the civil law, obeying the civil law, and not to eat from living animals, not to have that kind of brutality, okay? So now, Deuteronomy 18:10. Of course, now look, this is not to say that within the rabbis, one can point to the rabbis and point out a few issues, but okay, you shall not learn to imitate the abhorrent practices of those nations. They were set apart from the other nations. Do not consign your son or daughter to the fire, right? Child sacrifice. Do not indulge in magical practices, soothsayers, divining, sorcery. Right? One who casts spells, one who consults ghosts or familiar spirits, one who inquires of the dead. This is actually forbidden under the Jewish law. Okay? Not to say it doesn't happen, it certainly does, but it is forbidden under the law. Right? And this law, to my knowledge, is still, I think, should still be applicable to Christians. I mean, this should still be, it's not been abrogated by anything else that followed. So now let's look at a quick exegesis of each law, because they're sub-laws. So the rabbis took these laws and said, okay, so how do we apply these in real life? I mean, what do they mean given circumstances? So the 7 laws are subdivided. Let's look at idolatry. How do they interpret idolatry? Well, you must worship God alone. Jesus cannot be worshipped since it is considered blasphemy. This is according to strict rabbinic interpretation. This is obviously the departure between the Orthodox Jews and Christians. Obviously, this is an issue of contention. But that aside, you will not murder, you will not worship idols or statues. Do not bow down before them. Do not offer sacrifices. Okay, that one's out the way. Blasphemy. Do not curse God. Worship and pray to the true God alone. And do not use God's name in vain. Excellent. Murder. Do not murder people. Okay, but it actually states here within the Jewish law that self-defense is permitted. Theft. Now, theft is actually very interesting how they define theft. Do not steal. Do not rob. Do not overcharge. So now they've refined this to say, okay, well, what is theft? Do not overcharge people. Do not kidnap people. Do not move a landmark to cheat people. Maybe it marks out an area, right? A farmer's land or something. Do not move his landmarks to try to steal land, right? Or to try to confuse routes. Do not use false weights and measurements, and do not covet, right? Sexual immorality, no incest, no bestiality, and no homosexuality. Eating flesh of living animals. Do not indulge in animal cruelty. Do not eat animals that are alive, and do not eat the flesh of animals that are torn by a wild animal. And then justice, we'll look at laws in courts later, against bribery. Do not bribe. Do not apply favoritism when applying the law. The law must be impartial. Do not condemn the innocent. Rather, the guilty man goes free than an innocent man is punished. This is biblical. This is Jewish. Understand that the Western legal system is heavily derived, not just from the Roman legal system, but from the Jews. Administer the death penalty. This is legal. And treat people equally before the law. That's against favoritism. And this is actually proven within the Talmud, that evil book that people love to talk about. So, yeah, any comments, Harry? I'll pause you if anyone has a comment or question.
Guys, any questions? Please raise your hand if you do, or comments. No.
The start of another journey.
The presentation is incredible.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys haven't complained to the admins about my sarcasm as yet, but yeah. So now, courts. Okay, so we are required to have courts that administer justice. And this justice obviously has to be moral. For instance, now let's have a short look at the morality within the Jewish rabbis, right? Rabbi Ben Gamaliel used to say, on three things does the world stand: on justice, on truth, and on peace. As it is said, execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates. This is an exegesis of Zechariah 8, verse 16. Execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates. So from a rabbinic perspective, and this would be from a Talmudic perspective, oddly enough, the law needs to be just, must be based on truth, and must try to promote peace. This is why the Jewish Sanhedrin, the Jewish court, does not want to administer the death penalty, even though it is legal, because they are moving from violence towards greater peace. Understand? They feel that this is their moral obligation to become more civilized. So, and this is from the tractate Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers. These are the things you are to do. Speak the truth to one another. Render true and perfect justice in your gates. Do not contrive evil against one another. Do not love perjury. In other words, do not lie, because all those are things that I hate, declares the Lord. Zechariah 8:16 to 17. So this is what this verse is here, and this is how it's been interpreted by the rabbis and applied to the legal system. The Islamic legal system is completely different. We've covered that at length. Don't have to go over that again. It is something completely else. Okay. Let's see here. Let's have a look. 7 abominations. Yeah, I can skip some of this stuff. So, a New Testament exegesis derived from the laws of Noah. For instance, what law should Gentiles obey after baptism? Right? Now, very briefly, for instance, there's some that insist that, for instance, Muslims insist that you have to be circumcised. There was a huge argument amongst the apostles at the time. How do we, because they were preaching to the Jews who they wanted to convert to the belief in Christ. Then you had the Gentiles, the pagans, right? The non-Jews, also called the Greeks, meaning pagans at the time, the heathens, the non-believers. Paul decided to become the apostle to the Gentiles, right? And he had great success, whereas the Jews, there was difficulty getting them to change from the hold of the rabbis, right? And don't forget, rabbinic Judaism today I think, can fairly be stated to be different to biblical Judaism. You no longer have the priest class, the Levites, right? So now you have different. Now you've got the rabbis that are in charge. So you've got a different form of Judaism from the time of the Bible, right? So now, for instance, circumcision. And do these new converts to Christianity, do they become Jews? Do they follow the Jewish law? This was a major issue in the Bible. This was a major issue for the early apostles, right? Now, legally speaking, yeah. Sorry,
Lloyd. I've got a little off the cuff interjection with regards to circumcision. Sure. Isn't it interesting when you consider that circumcision has an effect in later life of ladies finding that more pleasurable during intercourse? So, hence, circumcision goes back to trying to increase the population of that belief culture. Circumcision dates.
I had no idea. I had no idea. That was new to me. So yeah, possibly that, who knows? But also it was the sign of the covenant with Abraham that would set them apart. And of course, Muslims copied that because, they claim to come from Abraham, but that's just another load of bollocks. So no, the issue was when a Gentile converts to Christianity, does he become a Jew? Does he have to follow the Jewish law? And eventually the decision was no, because one, being a Jew was a very specific legal issue under Roman law. To be a Jew, you were born a Jew of Jewish parents, and you had to follow the Jewish ceremonial law. You had to be circumcised and a bunch of other goodies. And anyone who claimed to be a Jew, who was not originally a Jew, could be prosecuted, go to prison, right? There would be legal punishment for them. So this was an obstacle. This is a major problem. And also the point wasn't that they were trying to separate themselves from Judaism. This was a new religion, right? Related to, born out of, but a fulfillment of this narrative throughout the Old Testament about the coming of the Messiah. So they said, look, we're not going backwards. We're trying to go forwards. We're trying to start something new. And of course, then there was the idea of the circumcision of the heart and all of those things. Understand? So these people said, look, if you become a Jew, then it's how are you a Christian? You're just a Jew now, right? So they said, no, we need to find a single set of laws that binds all of us, ceremonial, civil, and so on, cultural, ceremonial, civil, and moral. And so they said, look, we will follow, we become Christians. And they made that decision to go in that direction and separate themselves. And eventually they separated fully from the rabbinic Jews, right? Now, so there were two distinct types at the time. So let's go previously to Judaism. Now, how did James go about deciding on this list of prohibitions? They decided, okay, so James decided, the brother of Jesus decided, look, when these guys become Christians, right, when they join us, they believe in Christ, they join us, what do these new Gentiles have to do? Because we were born Jews, we follow these laws, we were born into these laws, we follow them, we still apply them. But these new guys, what do? He says, okay, well, they must abstain from the pollution of idols, they must abstain from fornication, from things strangled, and from blood. Now they've got 4 of the laws of Noah here, or 3 of the laws of Noah mentioned here, right? And that's in Acts 15:20. Because there were 2 kinds of converts to Judaism. There were full converts, and there were what they call the God-fearing converts, those who turned to God. Okay, so Jews could have interaction with God-fearing Gentiles without being polluted because of the whole idea of their ceremonial laws and so on. If they were involved with Gentiles, according to their ritual laws, they would become polluted. They would have to go into ritual ablution and take a week for them to get clean again, blah, blah, blah. So the easiest thing was for these Gentiles to adopt these laws of Noah so they become righteous Gentiles, right? And thus the Jews could have interaction with them without fear of polluting themselves according to their law at the time. So the laws of Noah were known to the apostles of Jesus and were considered authentic. Okay, so understand now, let's have a quick look. So I'll leave that there. That should clarify and finish that. So the laws of Noah were applied by James, the brother of Jesus, for the new Christian converts at the time of the early church. Then the Code of Ur-Nammu, influenced by the 7 laws of Noah. So interesting aside here, just an aside. John Pratt, a Mormon, he cleverly removes one of the laws of Noah using biblical historical justification, and he replaces it with the requirement of marriage, and voila, you have polygamy. So he claims the laws were lost, and he properly reconstructs them. Oddly enough, Islam does the very same. I see that our friend Mob 100 or whatever, Mob something, was here a few minutes ago. I noticed him, and he was the one who dropped the comment a few weeks ago. He stated that Israel has far more money, and bring me the proof, but he'd love to see it, because there is no evidence to support that. I've provided a ton of citations, dozens and dozens and dozens of them, and there is no evidence for that. So that thought is wrong, but I'd love to see the evidence if you have it. So he says here, simply replacing the incorrect law, the law against blasphemy, with the missing one, which is to multiply and replenish the earth, produces a proposed list for the original 7 laws given for all mankind as commandments from God. So he just takes out blasphemy and says, bang as many women as you want. QED. And this is what lots of cults and lots of sects and heresies do. They just simply, they go and fix your theology for you. Okay, so let me see. So this is, again, the witchcraft. That stuff is wrong. Okay, and now the 613 laws of Noah are only binding on the descendants of those who accepted the commandments at Sinai. So the Jews are set apart. Now, again, now look, I'm not a major theologian. This is not my thing, but I had a discussion recently with someone who said to me that I think the Jews are all going to hell because, they refuse to accept Jesus. And that's a common view, oddly enough. However, if you read St. Paul, he does state, and I am no expert on this, but from what little research I've done on this issue, Paul does say, the church fathers, Paul and James and others, they speak of not that the Jews are going to be kicked into hell because they don't believe in Jesus. What he speaks of is, no, we are the Jews. We've been given this promise by God, this eternal promise from God. And all of these new members of our church will be grafted in to this tree of righteousness. They'll be grafted in as branches of our tree, right? They will be added to. They will form part of this. They'll grafted into the trunk of our tree where they will receive these blessings as well and become part of this gift that's been given to us. What has set us apart will be given to them. Understand? So they have a separate covenant. And to my knowledge, that remains, look, we can always debate theology because I'm not a major theologian, but to my knowledge, that is how that works. Okay. So now there are 3 laws which a Jew must die for rather than transgress. 1, sexual immorality and murder and idolatry. So Jews must not engage in idolatry, sexual immorality, and murder. Those are 3 things you must rather allow yourself to be killed than to do those things. The prohibitions against idolatry threefold: worshipping idols, worshipping God with pagan rituals, and creating idols. Okay, so that's just a little bit of history. Hopefully that is interesting. There are different kinds of covenants. There are permanent covenants and temporary covenants, right? The Old Testament is temporary. It's not meant to be the ideal law for all time, although a dispensation is made that for those who want to live under that law, they must abide by that fully, right? And of course, it's very, very difficult to abide by those rules. And let me see, the only of the 9 of the 10 commandments, so 9 of the 10 commandments, as I said, are repeated, right, and reaffirmed, so they're still valid. The only one is keep holy the Sabbath is the one that is missing, because technically Jesus becomes your rest. He becomes the Sabbath, right? You keep him, right? So moving on. So that's the general sort of theology there, to my knowledge. So, okay, any comments or questions before we go on? I don't want to get too stuck into this. I've already covered all of the issues here. Any comments before I go on?
No, I think you can go on. It's very, very
okay.
interesting.
Right, I want to go a few minutes. It'll be 90 minutes. My throat is getting sore. It's tiring too. Okay, so idolatry. I want to bring your attention to Strong's H, which is H for Hebrew, 423. The word Allah, Jewish word, oddly enough, means curse. It's also the name of the Islamic God. Allah, the Muslim God, is within Hebrew, means a curse. So just very, very interesting. So denying God, of course, Islam denies the Christian God. It is completely anti-Christian. It completely goes against Christian theology. I've covered that in serious depth previously, so I'm not going to rehash that here now. Okay? Now, so do not blaspheme God. Now, lots of people try to claim that the laws of Noah are satanic and a curse upon humankind. These people have been, unfortunately, tricked into breaking the law against cursing and denying God. They've been tricked into blaspheming God. Because, as I said, these laws are also part and parcel of the 10 Commandments. And if the laws of Noah are satanic, then the 10 Commandments are at least half satanic, which is a ridiculous notion. So, right. I'll leave it at that. Oh, does any of you have, actually, you know what? I'm going to bring up something additional. Any comments or questions before I go on?
Guys, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. No, nothing.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up something. So lots of atheists and others will bring up the claim that Jesus wasn't a Jew because he couldn't have been a filthy Jew, and that Abraham was neither Christian or Jew. Now, they've got their own agenda for this. I'm not going to go into all of it, but I do want to bring up what the history of this was. What is the root source of some of these claims which you would have heard? It is related to this. It's something tangentially, but it's related. So there are root claims. The root, once you get to the root, you see where historically that original claim comes from, because they'll make the claim, right? And they doesn't explain where exactly it comes from. So it has a Gnostic source in John 8:44. John 8 44 in the New Testament says, "You are of your father, the devil, and the lusts of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." What is important to us is the very first sentence. "You are of your father, the devil, and the lusts of your father, that being the devil, you will do." This is Jesus speaking to the Pharisees. Now, of course, this is very uncharitably interpreted as Jesus is speaking to all Jews, every Jew that ever lived and that will ever live and that lives now and lived then, and just everybody. Jesus hates the Jews. Jesus was a Jew, but hey, Jesus hates the Jews. Every single Jew for all time, eternity, past, present. Now, "You are of your father, the devil." He's telling the Pharisees, he's specifically telling the leadership of the Pharisees at that point, "You are of your father, the devil, and the lusts of your father you will do." Fine and well. However, now, prior to Islam coming along and reinterpreting reality and misinterpreting everything in sight, pseudo-biblical Gnostics and other heretics also reinterpreted the Bible to suit their agenda. John 8:44 has been a major source is the original source of the hostility to Jews and Christianity, because these Gnostics claimed it is a pro-Gnostic verse, with Jesus affirming that the Jews serve the Gnostic Satan called Yaldabaoth. Okay? Whatever. Now, anti-Semites, people who hate Jews, make the same claims. They are ignorant of its historical source. What they do is they mistranslate the Greek John 8:44. They seek to undermine the passage and legitimize their stance by asking, okay, with an agenda, if John 8:44 really reads, "You are of your father the devil," or does it actually say, "You are of the father of the devil"? So they claim that Jesus is saying, in this passage, the proper translation is, "You are of the father of the devil." So the father of the devil is the God that the Jews worship. That God is Yahweh. Yahweh is the God of the Bible, the God of Abraham, Moses, Adam, Noah, the God of the Christians too, right? Which means that the father of the devil is even worse than the devil. Understand that Satan is a minion of the real Satan, who is the God of the Bible. Therefore, the Jews worship Satan's father, who is himself worse than Satan. Therefore, Jesus is not a Jew, because Jesus came as an apparition with no body. He came from the good God, this dualistic idea that they have of the good God and the evil God. And of course, you have the evil God worshipped by the Jews and now the Christians. And you have this good God that Jesus came from as an apparition, because the world of matter is evil. And Jesus could not have been born of matter, and he could not have been a Jew thus, right? So by this definition, by using this revisionist framework, remember, Gnosticism is not a religion, it's revision, right? And atheism as well, in many ways, it just does revision as opposed to, Jesus is not a Jew, and the God of the Old Testament of Abraham and Moses, who we call Yahweh, is Satan. This is the root source of this claim against Christianity and the hatred of the Jews. Your thoughts before I go on?
Lloyd, I'm going to annoy you, but I actually have an ignorant question. So if God is not the father of the devil, then who is the father of the devil? Who created the devil?
Yeah, but there's a difference between the father of the devil, you see, because in their worldview, there are two gods, the good God and the bad God. So there's the good God, who is the monad, who is purely just matter, who's purely just spirit, and then you have the bad God, who is Yahweh, who has his little sidekick called Satan. So he's the biggest Satan. Understand?
Yeah, but from a Judeo-Christian perspective, how do we explain where the devil came from? Eventually, it comes back to the same father.
He was, because God allows free will.
Yeah.
God allows free will. And unfortunately, when you have free will, you can have people that, remember, if I give you a piece of paper and I give you a pen and I say, write something, you can write a beautiful poem. You can write a new formula. You can invent something. You can write something beautiful, or you can piss all over the page. You can poop in it, wipe your ass with it, and smear it in someone's face. Free will. Right? Now, the last is not so this is what Satan did. Don't forget, Lucifer, this is what he did. He decided to disobey God. He felt himself greater than God. And he went and did his own thing. So he's got free will.
But forgive me, please, but because God is God and is omniscient, I mean, he knows everything in advance,
Omniscient.
then he
Yeah.
omniscient. So then he knew that the devil is going to exercise free will in a revolutionary way. Then why would he allow him to begin with?
Well, then what's the point of having free will? Because if he's just going to snap his fingers and then he becomes a dictator, then people don't accept him of free will. Understand? People need to accept this willingly, right? Otherwise, he's simply just controlling everything, and nothing is free. Nothing is. I mean, this is obviously a lot. Yeah.
I understand that with regular
I mean,
people.
by the same token, God shouldn't let your mom die of cancer. God should give you money when you forget your wallet at home. And if you fall down the stairs, he should catch you. So God becomes your little personal genie. Understand?
No, I understand.
So God then becomes your servant.
I understand, but think about the scale of devastation that happened with the devil, if we are taking that seriously, compared to the possible actions of specific men. So
yeah, well, think of what man has done. Think of the damage man has done. I mean, people had choices as well. They could have done otherwise. So man also has a choice, right? And if you make a world, I mean, think about it. If you make a world with beautiful mountains, you make a world where people can slip and fall off the mountain. That's just the way it is. That's how that is.
Okay.
Right? If you make a world with urinals, you also make a world where people can piss all over the floor instead of in the urinal. That's just how that is. Think about that. Excuse my French.
Yeah, I understand.
Right. Okay. So, that was, I just wanted to bring that up as an interesting point. Yeah. So again, I'm not exactly a philosopher. I had a BCAF in university, so that means Bachelor of the Cafeteria. That's as far as I got. I can tell you what the coffee tasted like, and that's about it. So, okay. And being African, as you guys all know, I attended a school for emotionally disturbed teachers. So that would explain the very poor academic qualifications of anything I would say. Do not murder. So all of this is covered again. So understand there's lots of references to and citations to handle all of this. Notice here, Handsome Truth 26, account number 26, after YouTube banned 25 of his former accounts. Okay, there's a long story with this guy. This is one of the reasons I did all this stuff. This complete, this guy. Jews do eat children. Jews mutilate children. Okay, the Talmud, you're allowed to rob the goy. Noahide laws made criticizing Jews illegal. Okay, it literally says pedophilia is okay. Okay, this is Handsome Truth being really, 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 really smart here. Okay, they look like rats. Okay, rabbi is permitted to sleep with his dead wife. A rabbi can cohabitate with a young girl 3 years and a day old. Wonderful claims, common claims. We can go through those claims one by one. I've done them in the past. I've actually gone through the actual citations, read them in full, so you can see these people are just talking out of their butts. But yeah. These are the kinds of claims that people make. Okay, the Noahide laws, they're little videos like this, the anti-Torah alliance, that the laws of Noah are anti-biblical when they are entirely out of the Bible, entirely dozens and dozens of verses that attest to them. Okay, so this is the very kind of thing that you'll see constantly quoted by people who just have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, under the Noahide laws, it is legal and punishable by death for a non-Jew to keep Torah. That's right. The Noahide laws do not allow Gentiles to practice the Torah like it all. They believe that Torah is forbidden for non-Orthodox Jews to participate in, and that is a violation that should be punishable by death. So for a non-Jew to read the Bible is punishable by death. Jews need to kill everybody who reads the Torah. Did you guys know that? Because apparently that's the case. Lots and lots of people. You'll find it in these videos. You'll find it quoted by idiots like these. They're very, very common. Okay? So hold on. So actually let me actually address that particular one. Give me 1 second. I'm going to address that particular one. So give me a moment. Come on. Good grief. I am confusing myself here. So I actually want to address that very claim so that I can go through the Torah, the Talmud, and show you exactly what it does say. So let me find that. Give me a second. Okay, here we go. Okay, so based on that claim, right, I want to go to the Talmud because people make all these claims about the Talmud and the 7 laws of Noah. Those are real claims. I had years of issues with these idiot people. Oh, by the way, I'm a Mossad agent guest, by the way. Handsome Truth 26, exposing Jan Irvin's Mossad agent guest. Just so by the way, Rabbi Yohanan says, a Gentile who engages in Torah study, a Gentile, bugger, squeeze me. What did I just do to myself here? Okay, yeah. Okay, so the Gemara challenges, what does the Talmud say about Gentiles learning Torah? But if so, let the Tanakh count this prohibition amongst the 7 Noahide laws. According to the one who says that the verse is referring to the Torah as an inheritance, this prohibition included in the prohibition of robbery. So they're speaking of the prohibition of robbery. A Gentile who studies the Torah robs the Jewish people of it. According to the one who says that the verse is referring to the Torah as the betrothed, your wife, as a wife, as the spelling of the Hebrew word for betrothed is similar to that of the word for inheritance. So the punishment of a Gentile who studies Torah is like that of one who engages in intercourse with a betrothed young woman, which is execution by stoning. So yeah, unfortunately, the Talmud does say that. However, the Talmud has a very particular format of presenting questions, devil's advocate, to present a question, a statement, and then it will challenge the rabbis or the students to counter that statement, right? So the Gemara raises an objection to Rabbi Yohanan's statement. So the Gemara raises an objection. It says, hold on, wait, hold on a second here, buddy. And it says, Rabbi Meir would say, from where is it derived that a Gentile who engages in Torah study is considered like a high priest? It is derived from that which is stated, you shall keep my statutes. So God says, you shall keep my statutes and my ordinance, which if a man does, he shall live by them. Leviticus 18:5. So understand, this is the opinion, right? This is an opinion, but this is a question. It's a question directed to the rabbis. It's devil's advocate. They're saying, look, what about this? What about this? What about this? It's called pilpul. They have a name for it. So the phrase, which if priests, Levites, and Israelites do, they shall live by them, is not stated. So the Leviticus does not state if priests, Jews, Israelis, Levites, if they do this, they shall live with them. It says no. It says rather a man. Leviticus says a man, which indicates mankind in general, all men. You have therefore learned that even a Gentile who engages in Torah study is considered like a high priest. That actually goes on below that, and it reaffirms this point. It states that you have gained great respect, that you are seen with great respect for learning the Torah, for reading the Torah, for studying the Torah. So understand, not only Jews are considered man, even Gentiles are man. You're not just a goy, you're also a man. So understand, this is what the Talmud actually states. This is what the Talmud says. Okay? So any comment? I'll finish here tonight. I think this is a good place to stop. But any comments about this? This is where. So what happens is people will read this, which is a question, and then claim this is the statement, and then fail to read the very next paragraph and show it to you, which completely contradicts that and states no. Anyone who reads the Torah is to be respected and is considered like a high priest. He has the same respect for wanting to learn what is in the Bible. I'll leave this here. Any comments or questions?
Well, I would just quickly go ahead.
Hi, Lloyd. I just want to say thank you very much. I'm driving, so you probably can't hear me. But yeah, thanks a lot.
All right.
See you soon.
You're welcome. Okay.
Yeah. I would just say that the future episodes about the Talmud are extremely important. And I know for a fact that in England alone, we have probably dozens of thousands of people who are like thinking that Judaism is the source of all evil. And how I wish we will be able to, make them realize the deception.
Yeah, no, they've been deceived. I mean, that much is very, very true. That is certainly certainly the truth. Yeah. So actually, we just stop sharing. I'll stop this here. Enough for now. Hiccups. So guys, I have things to go and do. It's late here. It's going on 11 p.m. So thank you very much. Any final last minute questions or comments before I call it a night?
Just thank you very much, Lloyd. It's been a fantastic evening. Again, a brilliant presentation, full of information, all backed up. It's like, boom, really enjoyed it. A lot to think about, a lot to transpose over to my understanding of things as well. Really entertaining. And I understand your passion and frustration. Sometimes you get a little bit spiky and you're a little bit, but I get that. And I appreciate it. Thanks for your time and your energy. I really do appreciate it, mate.
No, if you've dealt with the kind of abuse that I've seen, myself handled, but the kind of abuse, the kind of issues that I've had to deal with, I dealt with a group once that incited violence. There was a shooting at a synagogue in California once that was incited by that group where you saw this handsome Truth 26. He and his friends actually incited someone who took their message from their group. They have a political group. They had a political group that would actually do messages online. They would do public events. They would spread this message of hatred. They inspired someone to go shoot up a synagogue and kill people. Okay? It got so bad. This whole thing went to the FBI. It got out of hand. Believe me, this is what I was dealing with. People died because of this nonsense. There are real world consequences here.
I feel your passion for it. I really do, and I understand. When you're trying to put this sort of information across, the kind of resistance that you must get, and the kind of attitude back that you must get as well. And credit to you. And I really do appreciate that you sharing your time and giving us this incredible in-depth explanation as to the, your findings from the research you've done, and very much valued. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you very much. So, guys, any last minute, any final questions?
I just think it's very important that we will acknowledge the kind of risk you're taking by exposing Islam, for example. I know that people actually lost their life for 10% of what you're doing.
Why are we concerned? Islam's the religion of peace, Harry. It's the religion of peace. What are we concerned about? I mean, I should be able to just hand out my address right now, and it's not a problem. What are you on about? It's the religion of peace.
Yeah, I think we should have a statue of you on every mountain in every European country eventually. It's like,
yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, these people are nuts. I mean, we all know that. We know that. I mean, yeah. All the money they've spent, we know how evil they are.
How come they are not bribing you instead of sending all those billions to the university?
They'll try. They'll try and use nice words. I mean, they'll try and use nice words. I mean, when I was studying counterterrorism, I mean, just the nonsense I was hearing in the course, I was like, you guys have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know. I mean, look, obviously I don't have that much of a footprint, but those who do, they do. I mean, I can actually talk about that next week and show you some of how far they'll go to bribe people. They do. They do spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on people, millions of dollars on grants to get people in their court. Yeah, they do.
Okay. So next week we are going to start with the Talmud?
Yeah, I'll finish the laws of Noah because that's sort of the introduction, and I'll begin on that. Yeah, so I'll touch on that. Okay, guys.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I shall call it a night. Yes.
Take care, guys. Good night.
Have a beautiful night. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lloyd.